tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to continue with our lectures on sound, Saddha Rūpa, which is under the topic of Uttūja Rūpas. The previous two lectures we discussed how Rūpa Saddha has been addressed or discussed in the Theravada. Saddha is a Rūpa that arises in a physical cluster, material cluster, either due to the clashing of great elements or due to their separation. When two elements of two kalapas, different elements of two kalapas clash against each other, or when the two kalapas which are attached or which are connected to each other are separated, this sound arises in a new kalapa. And that sound is sensitive to the ear sensitivity, and it's known through the ear consciousness. Then there are two opinions on this, how this sound is felt, how this sound is heard. In one opinion, sound travels in lineages, in sequence, creating new sounds due to the clashing of Mahabhutas on those areas. For instance, if the source of sound source emits or produces some sound, and that would cause Mahabhutas of that area to clash with each other, and then new sounds would be arising, and this sound that would move through the space, through means in a lineage, would strike at the ear door, and the sound would come and strikes against the ear door physically. So then it is heard. That's the idea of the ancient commentarial view. Then the Pali commentators brought few arguments against that, saying, and the ancient commentators said, if that's the case, how that's why there's a delay of hearing the sound, though the source of sound is seen simultaneously at the same time when it is doing the action. Then we also experience that when we are hearing a certain sound, a particular sound, we can instantly we can know the direction from which it is coming. The Pali commentators suggested that this is attributed to one of the laws of nature. So one is able to, even though the sound comes and strikes at the ear door, it can be known, its direction can be known. Then the Pali that's the ancient commentators' idea. Then Pali commentators suggested that that's not the case, even though it's mentioned in the ancient commentaries, it should be disregarded, and the sound does not travel in sequences. It arises and it's felt together, it's known together with the color, and the reason for this delay is that when sounds are arising in a cluster or a certain period of time, the latter sounds become, the beginning sounds doesn't become prominent or evident or obvious, only the latter sounds manifest prominently or evidently. So that's why we observe a certain delay in listening. And since the sound is causing an image or causing a distant impact on the ear sensitivity, the direction of the sound can be known instantly. So that was the argument of the Pali commentators. And then they also bring an argument from Patthana, saying that the mind-born sound can be an object of ear sensitivity. A mind-born sound can be an object of ear sensitivity. So in that case, it suggests that the sound would travel. So it means that if sound is traveling, when it comes out of the mouth or out of the body, that would obviously be Uttūja Rūpas, and in that case, there's no way that we can listen to the mind-born sound of someone, because it has to go through the air and strikes at our ear. It's a very strong argument, actually. Then one can bring a counter-argument saying that, to try to defend the ancient commentaries, saying that it could be the sound of your own. So, but still sound arises in this vocal area, and the ear sensitivity is located somewhat like in a different location from there. And if the sound is traveling due to the striking of, because only the initial sound could be the chittaja sound, because that is what is produced by the mind. The sequence has to be, because it's arising due to the striking of Mahabhutas. So it has to be Uttuja sounds. Technically, it has to be Uttuja. So even if the sound is traveling from this vocal area till the ear sensitivity, it has to be a Uttuja sound that is traveling. So otherwise, we can say in this entire, as Chittaja Rupas arise in the entire body, the sound arises in a sort of area, extended area in the vocal area. So some sounds may arise at the ear sensitivity. Some sounds may. That's just an opinion that we can bring in order to defend the ancient commentaries, but I don't know how much valid it is. Then, but still, we have a huge problem here, because with the Pali commentators saying that it's heard, this direction is heard, the sound is heard from the place where it origins. So what happens is, now if the area is covered by something, for example, if the sound is arising in the back of a pagoda, we normally hear the sound coming from the two directions. The commentators have said, so when there are spaces, the sound, even though the sound is heard on its original location, it is heard as if it is coming from the spaces. So it's heard through the spaces, not directly. So it means, like, if this is the pagoda, and if sound is happening here, and if it is a thick one, it will be heard from where the spaces are, as from that direction. I don't know how much valid that point is, how much logical that point is. And the next obvious question the Pali commentators have is the obvious delay that we experience, the obvious delay that we experience in hearing sounds. For example, if the sound is very much far away, we obviously hear a delay of few seconds, which is a huge gap, and it cannot be attributed, in my opinion, it cannot be attributed to the delay, the manifestation of the sounds. So according to Kali commentaries, sound is, and most of the sub-commentaries, sound is heard at that specific location, and it delays due to its delay of manifestation. So the initial sounds are not conspicuous or obvious, but the middle or latter sounds are obvious. So then we are hearing the sound. But we know that if the sound source is very far and is very loud, it may be heard from few kilometers away, and we know that there is a huge delay, that for few seconds, that we cannot attribute to the manifestation of the generation, like the clarity of the sounds that are arising at the time, because it is very difficult, hard to understand why the sound which was heard instantly when the sound arises is felt or listened after a long period of time, after a few seconds. Now, Paramattha Dipani have brought a hybrid idea on this, That's what we are going to discuss today. The Paramattha Dipani's viewpoint on sound. Paramattha Dipani viewpoint. According to this, it has brought sort of a hybrid idea that it has suggested. So, according to Pali commentaries, the sound, ancient commentaries, the sound travels through the air and strikes at the eardo. And sound travels through the air in sequences, causing new sounds to happen, and it strikes at the eardo. And then, this is ancient commentaries. Ancient commentaries. Then we have Pali commentaries. According to Pali commentaries, the sound is arising. Now, this is the source of sound actually, and this sound is causing an image or that impact while being there. It's causing that image, and it is the ear, and the sound is heard. Because according to that, that's why the direction can be felt. And according to this, the delay can be explained very easily. But with this explanation, I doubt whether the delay can be explained logically, because it's a very obvious delay that we can see. The sound is very loud, and if it is distant. And also, there's still an issue of direction, because if, as I said before, if there is a pagoda or very thick object here, and sound source arises behind, and the listener who is standing here would hear as if the sound is coming from these directions, not directly. So if sound is heard, sound is felt directly in its location, why does this thing which is in between causes that perception delay? Because it's not something like such as view. Yes, view, it's obstructed. You cannot see what is behind. But sound is now, this view is obstructed, the color, but the sound comes through and is causing that image, which is not applicable to the color, but it is felt as it's coming from these directions. It's felt as it's coming from these directions. I don't know what is the logic behind this explanation. Anyway, something questionable. Someone can give a good solution on this. Anyway, so it has its follows, in my opinion. Now, the next point is Paramattha-Dīpani's idea. Paramattha-Dīpani. And this idea, because even in this case, some sort of a direction is felt. Some direction is felt. So it's felt as coming from these directions. Then the Pali commentators have a problem to explain how the direction is felt. Now, scientifically, it's due to the involvement of both ears. Yes, that's one explanation, which is mostly in line with the modern science. I don't know how technically they would explain that. It's something captured by the brain, as far as I know. So seems like so. Now this Paramattha-Dīpani says, because direction is also felt. That's a very obvious phenomena that we can observe, and also a delay is felt, and that delay is a significant delay, and it shows that it is a very good suggestion to show that the sound is traveling. But still it contradicts with the p a actually, in one sense, because if it is traveling, how could the sound produced by the consciousness can be heard? Because when it goes out, it has to be Uttujja sound, and especially if it is happening in sequences. One can still defend it, saying that yes, it can still be felt, because the sound is heard, of your own sound, which is arising in this area, is felt. But I don't know whether sound would arise in the ear sensitivity, whether that distance is in like that, whether because we normally know sound is coming from this area, sound is coming from this area. So now that's another problem. So it seems like sound is causing an image on the ear sensitivity. Sound is causing an image on the ear sensitivity without having a strike. If p a has to be taken, the p a sentence has to be taken seriously, or if it is taken as a parameter to judge, because chitta samuttano saddho sota viññānassa ārammana paccena paccayo. So if chitta samuttana, the sound which is produced by the consciousness, is heard by ear consciousness, and that if that is taken as a very solid evidence from the Mula, which we cannot deny normally in Theravada, then it seems like it's not the case that the sound is traveling and hitting on the ear sensitivity, unless you bring the argument that sound is arising on the ear sensitivity. Unless you bring the argument the sound is arising on this. Or there have to be one creature whose vocal area and the ear sensitivity are very close, so whenever the sound is arising, it may strike at the ear sensitivity. Possibilities are there, because the realm of animals are very diverse and very interesting. Anyway, those are speculations are there. Things to speculate. So now Paramattha-Dīpani's opinion is, now it's a hybrid one. So this is the sound source, and sound does travel in the space, but when it comes to the Sota Upachara, Savana Upachara, it's causing this image. Now this is the Savana Upachara. It's like the range where the sound can be heard. a sort of a Savanupachara. It is not the Savanupachara expressed in Vinaya actually, sort of any distance where the ear sensitivity is sensitive to the sound. So whenever it enters into Savanupachara, it causes this sound to happen. That's the point here. It causes this sound to happen. And then, so what happens? A delay is obvious till the sound comes to that Savanupachara. It can take few seconds as well. And also a direction is felt because it's not striking at the ear sensitivity. So it's been heard somewhere distant, so we can know the direction. We will not be able to know the exact location. That's also something very interesting, because if a bomb is happening or bomb is blasted somewhere very far, we cannot just locate the location exactly, but we know it came from this direction. We only have the perception of the direction. We cannot have the perception of the location if it is very far away. Because if the sound is closer by, yes, someone would be able to locate his place. Someone will be able to. If it is very far, a normal experience is, I don't know if someone can master it and guess how far the sound is. It has to be a calculation. It's not a direct experience, I would say. But with eye sensitivity, yes, we normally see it as from the place where it is. So it's a different experience that we get through the ear consciousness. But with the eye consciousness, with the ear consciousness, we are just aware from which direction it is coming from. Not the exact location. So direction is obvious, and this seems to be qualifying a very good candidate, this option. Delay can be explained with this explanation, delay, and then direction can be explained. Direction can be felt because it's causing the image to happen at a specific place before clashing on the ear sensitivity. And also this explanation, if a sound is originating behind a pagoda, instead of hearing that it's coming from the behind, because sound moves in these directions, all the directions, and because it appears like a wave, and it comes from this side as well. So then when it came to the ear upachara, the range, it causes the listener the image, and image means that it's felt to the ear. So listener, instead of hearing that it's coming from back of the pagoda, he hears as if it is coming from these directions, because sound is felt from here. So he hears that the sound is coming from back from the sides of the pagoda, and he doesn't feel that it's coming from the behind. So only after observing he will be able to know that it's coming from the behind. And this also can be easily explained by this explanation. So Paramatadipani seems to be a very good candidate in this sense, but still in my personal opinion, there is a problem here. We can some sort of issue, and also the patthana can be easily explained here, because if two listeners are close by, if two listeners are close by within the sota range, and this person is speaking out, and if this is a chittaja sound, and if he is in the sota patha means like in the range of hearing, and this can easily cause an image. Even the chitta sound can be cause an image. So even the patthana one applies here. And the delay can be explained. Direction can be explained. All the problems the Pali commentators and the ancient commentary have been solved here. But there is one slight issue that we can guess it, because now the problem is, if sound is causing an image after it has entered into the sota range, the range of hearing, and for example, if when it enters here, if it is causing the image here, while it is traveling, that's the point here, while it is traveling and it goes passes the person, it goes on, at every place, it should be causing the images. Even when it has passed, it should be causing the images. So, because one can argue it is only causing images on the direction it is going through. Yes, one can one can argue that, because if a sound is felt from here, it should be coming from this side, only then is heard. After it has gone passed through, you are not hearing it. It's a one suggestion one can bring. But how about this area? How about during this area? And shouldn't it be that the sound physics should be constantly heard at that place, to that period? Because if sound is felt in the sota area, like this hearing range, shouldn't it be heard continuously throughout this whole period where it is going through? One can argue it's so fast. It's so fast. So it's a very, whenever it enters into the sota patha, it would travel very fast, so quickly. There is I think 500 kilometers or something per second, some sort of 5,000 or something. So it's a very fast. Sound is so fast actually. So it could be passing, and one can argue like it cannot be felt. Like when you hear the sound for the first time, and mind starts to process with it, and and even the other sounds are causing impact. It's not going to disturb you, because the mind is occupied with that initial sound which was heard whenever it entered into the sotapatha, and it would be quickly going past you, and after it has passed, it's not causing image because its direction is different. And the possibility of causing various images at every location is not felt, because the distance between the sota upachara, savana upachara, and the speed, if you take the speed of the sound, these things, so it would easily quickly pass that area, and it's not felt very few times. So that's another suggestion that we bring. So only this, in my opinion, this is the only problem the Paramattha Dipani is facing. Why can't the sound is causing various images during its while it is in the sotapatha? Forget about how after it has passed away, because its direction is different. Only at least while it is in between, entering into the sotapatha, savana upachara, the hearing range, and till it passes the observer or the listener. And this, if this can be suggested based on the speed of the sound and the short distance of the sotapatha, savana upachara, I think it can be, the thing can be easily, we can bring more weight onto this Paramattha Dipani opinion. So Paramattha Dipani opinion is, in my opinion, in my sense, is free from the delay issue, is free from the direction issue, is free from the clashing with the patthana, and it's and also, yes, but the Pali commentators have are struggling with the delay issue, and also the direction when there is an obstacle in between the explanations, in my opinion, doesn't seem very tangible and very logical. And the ancient commentators have an issue with the direction issue, and they have been backed up by the science, because science also have such an explanation. And then, but the problem, they are hugely clashing with the patthana, because how could sound produced by the consciousness can be heard with the ear sensitivity if it is traveling, if it should be covering and striking against the ear sensitivity. So these are the issues. So it's up to you to decide on what would be the most suitable and to adhere to. So what's my responsibility is to present to you all the arguments that are found in the Theravada commentary, Theravada tradition. I don't see any other fourth opinion here. These are the three opinions that are existing, and you bring the science into it, and then you can bring your own opinion and try to explain. But we should not be denying science, because they have done a lot of experiments, and they have their own opinions on how the sound is traveling. According to them, sound travels and strikes. It's a wave actually. It's causing a sort of impact on the eardrum, and that is sensed by the brain and processed by the brain, and it is being heard. And the sound is a secondary characteristic. It's not a primary characteristic like in Theravada. Color, taste, sound, smell, and are all secondary ones. Only the touch, the tangible thing, we call the sensation is also a secondary thing. But the texture, the size, the shape, all these are primary qualities according to them. So anyway, so now we'll just read View of Paramattha-dīpani, page number 7, the same handout I shared, which was shared last time. The Paramattha-dīpani presents a view that differs from both aforementioned perspectives. Actually, it's a hybrid one. According to it, sound having arisen propagates onwards, outwards, in succession from its point of origin. In succession, it propagates. However, it is only when this sound enters the auditory range of living beings that it contacts the sota pasada, not as a directly impinging object, but by causing a nimitta to occur on the ear sensitivity, thereby giving rise to ear consciousness. It's not striking directly against the ear as in the case of ancient commentaries. And whenever it enters, now it's in line with the ancient Pali commentaries, because it considered the sound as asampattakgahi. Sota is asampattakgahi. It is receiving the information before it has come to its physically. So it's causing the image while it is in the sota range, savana range, not after it has contacted. But it aligns with the ancient commentaries saying that the sound propagates in succession. So it moves actually. An example is given in Paramattha-dīpani as follows. The example given in the Paramattha-dīpani is as follows. When someone plays a drum or a similar instrument from the rear side of a chaitya, a person standing on the other side of the stupa hears the sound as though it were coming from both sides. The reason for this is that when a dense object like chaitya is present, the sound rupa succession cannot easily pass through it. Or if it does, it becomes weakened. Therefore, sound rupas that propagate around both sides of the chaitya upon entering the auditory range of the listener, when it enters the auditory range of the listener, contact the sota pasada through nimitta generation, not by direct impingement, resulting in the experience of hearing. So that's what happens here. So according to this view, there is no obstacle to determine the direction from which the sound arose, because its direction when it entered the sound sota range is felt. That's the point here. It entered the direction sota range is felt. So then another very interesting point against Paramattha-dīpani, for example. Against Paramattha-dīpani, I would suggest. So now this is the range of sound. Sound propagates to every direction actually. Sound propagates to every direction. So it moves in waves actually. So that's why when there's an obstacle, the waves do move like this, and that's how it's been heard. So that's how the sound moves, right? So now if it is propagated, if images are caused by the sound when it is far away, for example, if this is the ear, why can't the sound which is traveling this direction cause an image? Another problem. Why can't the sound which is traveling to this direction can cause this sound? So then one has to say it has a direction. There's a very important point here. It has a sound, the way it is directing, where it is moving, that's only in that area it's causing that image. If the sound is moving somewhere else, it's moving somewhere else, so it's not heard. It has to be, in order to cause the impingement or to cause this nimitta, it should be directed towards you. That's why the sound which is going past in the person is not heard. Only when the sound origin of sound source is there, and it would propagate the sound. So this would be heard. This would be heard. Because it's coming towards you. So it has to come towards the sota pasada. Towards the sota pasada. It has to be directed towards the sota pasada. Only then it is heard. It's like the eye color. Only the sound colors that are in the range, like directed towards the eye, are heard. So in the same way, are seen. In the same way, the sota range is far. It's different from the ear. It's a circular thing. It can be heard all over, because I's range has to be something, if these are the I and its range is something like this, it cannot see the ranges beyond that. The Sota range is somewhat different. It's a circular thing, it even extends to the back. Now, if sound is to be heard, it has to be, we have to bring an extra argument saying that only the sounds that are directed toward the Sota is heard. So when sound is coming from the one direction, it's heard from, if it was coming from as it is, it's heard that these sounds which are directed to them are heard, not the sounds that are moving away. And if there's an obstacle, the sound would come and make the direction, like it would again go past through it and starts moving forward. So, and then at that time, when it enters the Sota Pata, it is heard from this direction. So heard from this direction, and then that's so it's another important point, important argument or factor that one has to bring in order to defend Paramattha Dipani, that only the sound that are directed towards the ear consciousness, ear sensitivity are causing the image to happen. According to this view, there is no obstacle to determine the direction from which the sound arose. Yes. Moreover, it allows for a consistent explanation of the time delay often experienced before sound is heard. The above explanation from Paramattha Dipani can be summarized as follows. Sound travels towards through a successive generation of great elements, Dhatu Parampara. It's compatible with the ancient commentary. When this sound enters the auditory range of a being, it contacts the Sota Pasada indirectly by, indirectly means not in contact, by generating a nimitta, not through direct physical impact. When someone produces sound from a distance, the physical form is seen first and the sound is heard after some time. That's also obvious because it took time not to come and hit the ear but to enter into the auditory range. Because sound is apprehended through the mode of asampatta, the direction of sound is immediately known. It's immediately known. Venerable 𝐷𝐴 𝐶𝐚𝐺𝐴 𝐷𝐴 also explains the manner in which sound contacts the Sota Pasada in accordance with the method outlined in the Paramattha Dipani. That is, sound spreads outward through a successive generation of great elements, and upon reaching the Sota Pasada, it does not contact it physically as a direct object, but through nimitta generation in a non-impinging way, asampatta. So, Venerable 𝐴 𝐶𝐚𝐺𝐴 𝐷𝐴 has also taken the position of Paramattha Dipani instead of going to the ancient commentaries or the Pali commentaries. He has suggested the sound is asampatta and it propagates and moves in succession. If you bring both together, you are into the Paramattha Dipani's context. If you say sound is not propagating, is not moving, it is not moving in successions, then you are in the Pali commentary viewpoint. And if someone says, yes, it does propagate and it has to impinge directly with the ear sensitivity, then you are in the ancient commentary viewpoint. So these are the opinions, 3 opinions about sound. And whatever it is, whether it is, whatever viewpoint is accurate or accepted, the most important thing is sound is an impermanent element and it's a non-self element and it causes suffering. That would suffice you to attain your vipassana practice, and it's something that is arising due to causes. It doesn't belong to us. And normally we feel like it's my sound, is I'm speaking. No, it's just the sound element is arising, and it has its own attributes due to the this locations or the nature of the body that we possess. But it's not I actually. Sound is just something that is felt to the ear consciousness and is also impinging the ear sensitivity, and that's its character, that's its nature, being sensitive to the ear sensitivity. So sound doesn't have the qualities of a living being. It's just sound. It's just sound. And the qualities, the entire qualities of living beings cannot be reduced into just to a mere sound. So some sounds are very adorable, very pleasant to the ear. Some are very gross and very difficult to listen. Whatever it is, it's just a sound. It's mere a sound. It's just a mere sound. It's not the sound of a person. It's just sound arising when the consciousness and other physical stuff are involved, and also when if it inanimate stuff, it's just the sound is arising. So that's what matters to us, and this is a explanation given to understand the sound. And this shows another very interesting top point here. It's a very interesting point. What does it suggest? So this rejection of the Pali commentaries, of the ancient commentaries, suggests few things. So there is an opinion written in the Pali sub-commentators and also held by some scholars, traditional scholars, saying that the commentaries is a direct explanation of the Buddha. Saying that the commentaries are a direct explanation of the Buddha. If that's the case, Venerable Buddha Gosa would never take any decision to refute the Pali commentaries. Rather, he would try his best to justify the commentaries. But he have taken a position, a bold position, rejecting the commentaries, saying that that cannot be the case. The ancient commentary has been strongly refuted, and that has been followed, and his position has been adopted by all the sub-commentators till Paramattha-dīpani. Had been adopted by all the subcontinent till Paramattha-dīpani. So therefore, it shows that the ancient commentators were of the opinion, even though they advocated, even the sub-commentators advocated that the commentaries is the direct teachings of the Buddha, and it has been transferred from generation to generation. Some ideas of it, because we don't differentiate in commentaries, this is the ideas of the Buddha, these are the ideas of the ancient teachers, and in my opinion, it was not so documented even in the ancient commentaries. Yes, obviously some information had come from the Buddha, there is no argument in it, but now it has come into a position that is very impossible to distinguish what has come from the Buddha and what are the inventions or explanations of the teachers. And the Buddha Gosa has considered that the explanation of sound is somewhat and it's not a direct teachings of the Buddha. Otherwise, he would never ever challenge that. He'd try to explain and bring a strange phenomenon and say, no, this is how it happens. It's very difficult to explain, and so and so. And he would try to justify it. And he sees a contradiction with the Pဋ္ဌာna as well. And this shows that the ancient commentaries were not the direct teachings of the Buddha. It shows that. It's a very clear evidence here, because otherwise it's not a mistake in the scribal error. It's not a scribal as Sarathadipani suggests, because Sarathadipani says sometimes there can be errors in Acharyavadas due to scribal errors. No, this is not a scribal error for sure. This is a difference in opinion, and this same thing has happened with regard to the lifespan of Kammaja Rupas. The same thing has happened. So what matters whether the ancient commentary is accurate or not, that's not the case here. Venerable Buddha Gosa has not considered the essence of the Pali commentaries as the teachings of the Buddha. That's the point here. And also we can see and how they refute these arguments. These are not like, now if Venerable Buddha Gosa has considered Pali commentaries as wrong, and he has assumed that who wrote commentators who brought this idea didn't have a direct knowledge about what's going on, because if they had the abhinyas or psychic powers to observe how the sound behaves, they would not have made, according to him, according to Buddha Gosa, they would not have made such a blunder or a mistake. So Buddha Gosa held to the view, anyone who had put this information to the ancient commentaries didn't have psychic powers. That's why he's bold enough to reduce it, reject it. And then Venerable Buddha Gosa's time, and also he's bringing arguments based on logic, not based on direct experience. These are all logic. It's saying it contradicts with the Mula. That is how it's observed, and this is how some archers or who are shooting in darkness just listen to the sound. So these are all scholarly debates that are going on. Scholarly debates. So this shows that these explanations that we find, at least this explanation, for example, I leave aside the other explanations, are scholarly explanations, are not the explanations given directly. Now, even if, imagine if this information, whether it was, okay, forget about Buddha giving it, isn't it something that was originated in any of the 3 councils, where the Arahants were there and all with the discriminated knowledges? So otherwise is this information has entered into the commentaries after the 3rd council, which is between the 3rd century BC and 5th century AD. There's 8 centuries are there before Buddha Gosa converted the Pali, ancient commentaries into Pali. So did this information enter into the ancient commentaries throughout this period? So if you are going to rely and consider that the Arahants who were in the first 3 synods could not make any mistake, Yes, this if and at least Buddhaghosa had considered, not my opinion. Buddhaghosa had to consider that this information has come in between after the three synods, or at least now there was an era in Sri Lanka, the Arahants, the psychic monks were all present, and at least he has to consider, otherwise they would have already experienced it directly. So at least it has to be after them. So it shows that the Pali commentaries are not what the ancient commentaries that Buddhaghosa had. He didn't consider it has solid teachings of the Buddha. It was something that has come through the generations and developed. It's a commentary. That the meaning of the commentary itself is an explanation of the main teacher. And commentarial history is found in every religion. We can find commentaries in Christianity, we can find commentaries in Islam, we can find commentaries in other Buddhist sects, in Hinduism. Yes, commentaries means explanations of the main text. And this is Theravadians also have commentaries, and they have sub-commentaries. So it means normally the commentaries are not the original teachings. It shows this is a very clear evidence. And this incident, I could have just taught this and go forward, but if you scrutinize this, this point is revealed. And most of the scholars believe as I do. They don't consider commentaries as something directly coming from the Buddha. But there is a traditional opinion because of some things that the sub-commentators have mentioned. Certain things that the commentaries have mentioned. Pali commentaries and sub-commentators have given more emphasis on the commentaries and try to justify that there cannot be a mistake in the commentaries, and it has to be something, unless there is a scribal error, the commentaries has to be purely perfect according to them, and because they are coming from the Buddhas, directly from the Buddha. But ironically, Venerable Buddhaghosa has rejected a very clear information given in the commentaries without distinguishing whether it's later addition or not. He has just rejected that part of the ancient commentary. And also, sub-commentators who consider the commentaries are Buddha's teaching have also adhered to and followed Buddhaghosa's method and refuted the commentaries. And very interestingly, Venerable Dhammapala has said the opinion of the ancient commentaries as a 𝐥𝐽vāda. 𝐥𝐽vāda means opinions of some teachers. When you say 𝐥𝐽vadanti, the gravity is a bit less, especially if that idea is refuted. It's taken very it's not given that due respect actually. So, and he's telling this 𝐥𝐽 word to the ancient commentaries upon which the Pali commentaries were written and of which the Pali commentaries are the translations. So therefore, this is another interesting point that reveals for the monks who are traditionally adhering and strongly advocating that the commentaries cannot be challenged. And this is not about the Pali commentaries. Forget about the Pali commentaries. These are the ancient commentaries, the real origin source of the Pali commentaries. It has been challenged by Venerable Buddhaghosa himself. So it's another interesting point. And when you have this idea, you become more relaxed with the Theravada teachings, and you try to distinguish commentaries and the Mula and try to be more sort of liberal and be more independent in your studies. But that is not to put down the commentaries. Without commentaries, there is no Theravada, there is no argument in it. There is no argument. The commentaries have laid down the fundamentals, but still they were written by humans. Still there can be issues, because there are some issues. For example, I haven't touched upon it. I will be touching them very, very late actually when we come to karma and so forth, because there are certain issues that the Theravadians are coming to a huge problem because of the commentarial explanation. That we align with the determinism means actually how the karma has been explained in some places. So in that places, we have to, if you want to get out of this, in my opinion, you have to come out of the commentary and try to explain it based on the Mula. But this is not to say to reject the commentaries entirely. That would be not a wise approach, I would rather say, because the commentators have grabbed the idea very seriously, very thoroughly, and brought the fundamentals and unearthed the fundamentals. But there are some places that need to be addressed, and sub-commentators have sometimes addressed on these issues, have sometimes pointed that commentaries are not accurate in this place. And so that's the point. So yeah, So there's another interesting point. When you're studying fundamentals of Theravada, even this view is opinion is very vital. So that would be the lecture. I hope you enjoy the lecture, and I will be also going for an exam because my students are. I have to conduct an exam in a few moments. So I'll take one or two questions and conclude the lecture. Yes.
Actually, what we experience and also the scientific explanation of sound is that you need a medium for it to travel.
Yes.
And also depending on the medium, its speed varies. And in a vacuum, you won't hear any sound at all. Otherwise, the explosions on the surface of the sun will be so loud, and we will not be able to live on Earth. We are hearing all those sounds because of the nuclear explosion. So that factor, have you considered revealing the three aspects of the different commentaries? Because actually, that Paramattha Deepani view and the whole commentary view probably can accommodate that requiring a medium to travel, because 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐸𝐴 are the ones which will transmit the waves, sound waves from the source to the person listening to it. So that is one question. Then of course, adding to that, we have soundproof rooms. Soundproof rooms, including now the lecture room which you are conducting, must be a soundproof studio.
60%.
So, that again confirms the requirement of a medium. I think with that I will stop. If you can give a quick answer, I would be very grateful.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion and a very good point that we have to consider the medium thing. Yeah, if medium is necessary, it shows that it has to travel, and the ancient commentaries would be the best candidate in this regard, because there has to be a medium through the entire process. And one can still one can argue in this way that even if it is causing that image to happen, there has to be a medium. Like for example, color and eye. In Theravada perspective, in the Theravada opinion, the light acts as the medium. As I understand, it is not directly said in the books. Light acts as the medium. It makes it clearer. So if the light is not in between, the color would not cause an image on the eye. So in the same way, someone can bring an argument, but the Pali commentators have not recognized this medium necessity. They have said there has to be space actually. So in two ways we can explain. There has to be space, so there should be a gap between the sound and the ear center, or this ear should not be blocked. Should not be blocked with ear waxes and also only there has to be some space in it. So they have not recognized as science does that there has to be a medium for the sound to travel. As you said, if there's no medium, which is a very obvious phenomena, we cannot deny that. If there's no medium, sound is not heard. So one can still stand for the ancient commentaries, saying that as the light acts as the medium, so the color can cause an image on the eye. In the same way, sound needs the medium, even it's not traveling, it can cause that image. Then the problem comes about the speed, because the medium based on the medium, the delay is obvious. The delay is obvious because if it is solid, sound is traveling faster. If it is air, sound is traveling slower. If it is water, it's in a medium range. So in this opinion, if I give a quick flashback on it, I would say the ancient commentaries are triumphing on this regard, because if now then you have to say that there is a delay of causing the image. There is a delay of causing the image on the ear sensitivity, because based on the medium, then the Paramattha Deepani would also be in a trouble in this regard, I would say, because if the sound has traveled through a medium and there is a vacuum in between, So as far as I know, if we are in the vacuum, the sound would not be heard. The sound would not be heard. So then we have to say the between place is, there is a medium. If the medium changes, the time of the sound being heard differs. So it shows that if, because now ancient commentaries are in a big, Pali commentaries are in a big problem because it's not traveling. So the medium, based on the medium, the speed of the sound differs, how it is heard, and if according to Paramattha-Dīpaṇi's viewpoint, still it can be heard from some distance, and scientifically some would say that if that distance is filled with a different substance, sound would be heard, the time gap would be different. Then the Paramattha-Dīpaṇi would have problems in explaining how, why this difference is, because because after it has entered to the Sota Pasada, it should be causing this image. So why, how could this be delayed? Because it has to something, it has to happen, it must be something that is happening at the present moment. Yeah, it's a very good argument, and in my opinion, it is another very supportive factor for the opinion for the ancient commentaries. Even Paramattha-Dīpaṇi, I would feel, is in trouble here.
If I am allowed to ask another short question about Venerable Buddhaghosha's writings. Now, I have been under the opinion that that Venerable Buddhaghosha didn't express his opinions as such, but he had to collect what was accepted as right at that time. At the time he visited Sri Lanka, and he just recorded. So he was more or less an editor and a compiler rather than a writer himself. Because 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐴 had to be written and had to be approved by the Sangha, Venerable Sangha Pala, if I remember right, the chief monk in Maggavihari. He went through it and approved it, and apparently it was written 3 times before he was allowed to start converting Dhamma, writing Dhamma in Pali. So can that be whatever the differences you highlighted could have come because probably at the time Buddhaghosha visited Sri Lanka, among the monks that would have been probably the opinions that existed. So it's like you correctly said, it's not really Lord Buddha's words, but it would have been the opinions of the predominant monks at that time. I don't know if they were all of them are but there would have been a predominant opinion which would have been recorded in the books.
Yeah, that's also a very interesting point, because it seems like the ancient commentaries or also the opinion of the teachers of those eras, like it has grown up, developed from very basic level up to the place where it was when Buddhaghosha had these commentaries. And yes, it could be the opinions of other monks of that era, that there was maybe there was an opinion among the Mahavihara monks against the ancient commentaries, and that idea of sound would have been existing already, and he just Buddhaghosha adopted that and adhered to that and wrote it. And one can argue that it is his personal view as well. We cannot differentiate actually. So sometimes, but in some places he has written that this is his own view, especially in Vinaya. And so yeah, it could be the opinion of the teachers, of the monks of that era in which Buddhaghosha translated the commentaries, or it could be his personal opinion as well, which is respected by the other monks. It could be the both. It could be the both.
Thank you very much, and much merits to you. It's a very interesting discussion. I always have it. Thank you very much.
So we can conclude the lecture. So hope you enjoyed it, and may all these merits help us to attain the final liberation, and may finally also support for the longevity of the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasanam Chiran Tittatu, Buddha Sasanam Chiran Tittatu, Buddha Sasanam Chiran Tittatu, sadhu sadhu sadhu.